I think my agenda was circled about. I hope everybody got a copy. It went out in emails, I was told. So,
same one as double-sided one here, I presume?
Start with statistics for October. Our calls for service were slightly down from prior years. Offense reports were, of course, slightly down. Accidents were about the same, or arrests were about the same, 48. Accidents, we had a little pickup from last month, which was a pretty low number of 23. This year we had 39. In 2012 there was 58. So don't feel so bad about that. Citations ringing about the same, 72. Our overtime usage for the month was high, $20,344. Year to date, we're at $130. We're getting into what our budgeted, close to our budgeted amount for that. I'll have to sit down with Becky and the auditor and talk about how they want to handle that. Reason we're so high is we have a gentleman who's out on FMLA. And will be for the rest of the year.
Which stands for?
And medical leave act. He had a child and is elected to use his FMLA privileges.
Well, he's got, what, 16 weeks he can do that?
12.
12? Okay.
And I believe he intends to take 12. God bless him, because after 2 weeks, buddy, I was ready to back. Like, yep, my midnight feedings are over.
A friend of mine they had twins. And after the first 2 weeks, he said, "Hey, I'm going back to work."
He can't use sick leave for 12 weeks, right?
Yes, he can, because he's got the time built up.
Really?
He can use sick leave, any of his leaves that are available to him, he can run during that time.
Because usually FMLA, you only use sick leave for what's medically necessary. I'm surprised. It's like you can take leave, but even, you know.
At some point it will become unpaid, but apparently he has it in his time, and he sat down with
Because usually women
personnel.
can only get 6 weeks sick leave, and the rest is if they have vacation or leave without pay. They can take 12 weeks because the law mandates that, but they can't take it as sick leave. So I'm surprised.
He's got it all worked out with Debbie over in personnel and in HR. You know, she's up to date with all that, so they worked it out ahead of time. They knew the child, of course, was going to be born in October, so however they're letting him take care of it. I mean, at some point, you can actually elect just to take the time off and not be born. So I don't know how he intends to do it, but you know, that's his business, and in the meantime, we're going to be short.
Who was that?
Jim Crozier.
How's this compare with last year at this time?
With last year's overtime usage, I know we're higher. We're higher on overtime usage this year. We had, first part of the year, we had one of our officers who was out on FMLA because she had a baby. Misty had a child. She was out until April, so the first 4 months she was gone. So we've had some problems with that because of her being out. So more than usual. And we've also had a very, very busy year. As you've been watching on our arrests, as I think we're going to have a bumper crop year of arrests. And our officers have been spending a lot of time in courts and courtrooms, and we've had a lot of serious crime this year. I think that also is probably a big contributor to where we're at. So we're just about to the point, I think, 135,000 is what we had budgeted for the year. So, like I said, I'll be meeting with the auditors on that to make sure we have plenty covered there. Communications, our Mark's radios have been installed, they're in the system, and the programming is to be finished. Mark's just given all of the call sign signals, IP, everything of that nature has been turned over to Dave Skeen over at Comtech, our radio tech, to finish the job. I was hoping to hear from him sometime this week that he's going to get over here and finish that work. The line item for communications is in the negative now. That's my phone. I'm ignoring it.
Somebody was coming down here. I kept going.
We're hearing all kind of crazy stuff. The cable's vibrating. Like the door was open out there, it was so close. And
It's over here. It's my phone.
Yeah.
We've had just so many things break and had to have repaired this year. I can't remember a year where everything has gone bad. It could go bad. Generators, radio consoles, base radios, handheld radios, workstations. Then we end up with extra costs for the server replacement. We had to get a new terminal server, and also our mobile data computer configurations been going in and out. We changed over to another product for our leads access. It's going to save us money in the long term. We had some setup costs and some growing pains there. Had a large video monitor go out. We had issues with tornado siren computer. New console monitor arms were needed. The Sally router had to be replaced. It's just never-ending list. So all of those repairs come out of that line item. So in the negative, I think I've been warning and talking for months that we're going to do very well in that line item.
what did your walkies? I just got a Centric Tech, whatever, got a $2,000 bill for programming our radios so that the marks keep it. Have you got that bill yet?
Sorry, everyone. Apologize.
This part of this project is already prepaid for. This project, I think we went after. You got any legislative requests going on. It's already been paid for. So I don't see any bills out of what's going on. The next one is where we're at here. I've been able to find money in different areas of our budget for this. At the direction of the mayor. Our police radios need an IP25 firmware upgrade. That's 39 radios. There's a special to the end of the year that it's $160 a radio cost versus $575, which is the normal cost. So we're acting very quickly to try to get this upgrade done. So I've already got it quoted, so we'll get it paid for and we'll get the big savings to get that firmware upgrade done.
$6,200.
Yeah.
That's what you just signed legislation today.
PO.
The PO for those radio upgrades.
Mm-hmm. And that's part of what you're paying for as well. Dave's doing that as well as the programming for marks for you.
And just for your information, I do have an account that pay for majority of the tornado siren issues. So
Okay. I have to pay for I've been paying for them to come in to work on the computer. Richard Day, Data Network Services, because we've had some issues with the computer itself and the software itself.
okay.
Hopefully that's all going to be resolved. One of the things, I guess, I didn't put it in the notes, we were meeting with the EMA, you and I, and it looks like they're going to be forthcoming on doing some upgrades that are still needed and paying for some other costs. For example, that the installment and setup of the terminal server they're going to pay for. They're going to get us the new software for the tornado siren to be more compatible with the hardware and, that we have that we're operating, and it'll be just like theirs. So looking forward to getting some of that done. They're also going to be coming doing some training with our dispatchers. Set a training date. They're going to come in and train our dispatchers and work with them on fire dispatching so that they know the new method of dispatching that they're using over there.
Chief,
Yes.
tell me, it looks like you have 39 radios at $160, the discounted rate
Mm-hmm.
is $6,200. So you're saving $415 a radio?
Yes.
That's $16,000. What a racket. I mean, if they can do it for that cheap, they're really putting it to the man, aren't they?
Well,
The price.
yes, they are, and I think it was a thing that the state stepped in and helped negotiate with D.F. Johnson because
Did they?
they're pushing. They want more and more agencies to get on this mark system. So a lot of the agencies need the firmware upgrade to be fully compatible with the new March system that they're pushing out. So I think in an effort to get agencies rolling towards March is what the state wants, that they found a way to lower the cost. But yeah, pretty much charge what you want to.
Imagine,
situation.
imagine some of the area departments that do not have Mark's capable radios. You know, actually have to buy the radios themselves, which are even more expensive than the $500 a pop or whatever they're looking at. It's just the firmware upgrade.
Crazy.
Newark spent $90,000 getting portable walkie-talkie Mark's radios for their officers.
They didn't have the program.
No, they were programmed by the state, no cost to get on the Marks. But they bought already Marks ready radios, but at a cost of $90,000. What the bought the person for? You get a walkie for each one of their officers with some spares.
5,400 apiece.
And did not get car radios. Just handheld walkie-talkies. So their cars aren't yet equipped with Marks radios. They're going with walkie-talkies at this point. They say they're working pretty good. They still have dead spots. I don't care what radio system you have. You have to have antennas all over your city to be absolutely perfect, and they cover a wide range.
So our walkie-talkies and our car radios will all be Marks.
Yes, that'll be Marks ready to go.
Good.
Zach Markley was sworn in October 20th. He's in phase 1 of this field training program. He's a 7-8 year veteran. I would hope by January 1st he could be through the thing completely in 2 months rather than 3 months. He's pretty sharp cookie. I don't think he's going to have any problems there. We also met with EMA, and from what I understand, the state's making a push and already has a beta site for a statewide 911 system. I think we talked about this before. Each county owns and operates its 911 system. The state wants to do similar to what they've done with the Marks radio system, is push out a state 911 system. And if they do something of that nature, they're going to encourage each county to join up with them in the state 911 system. But
The mandated cost how much?
I don't know that they're going to mandate a cost, but I can tell you one thing that they will get their hands on will be the 911 fees that the county currently collects.
Mm-hmm.
Is
that on cell phones?
Well, they collect them off your cell phone bills, yeah, and your landlines. If you look at either your bill, you'll see a 911 tax more or less on your bills, and that's paid to the county so that they can maintain the 911 system. But I'm not saying that's the reason the state of Ohio is doing it, but they already have a northwestern county that they're running beta tests with.
Just saying.
If you read between the lines, I mean, that's what will happen. Of course, the counties, they're not doing it for nothing. The counties definitely, collect all the funds to do those things at this point. So
that's strictly for cellular and tier 1, 2, 3 stuff. The 911 tax that's on the phone bills and stuff, that can't be used for the overall operation of the 911 stuff.
I don't know. They're limited on what they can use it for, but they can use it, and they do use it. I mean, it comes in very handy. I don't think you can pay personnel costs, but when it comes to equipment and upgrades and maintenance and stuff, I think they can use it for all of that. Maybe no personnel, but all equipment side of it. I'm not real sure on what they're limited, but it's a nice revenue stream for the county. And they use those funds quite frequently. A lot of that went to the new center. They've gotten all the grants to build it, but to maintain that center the way it is, they're going to have a good revenue stream to keep up their technology over there. It's just loaded. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to go to the new 911 center and walk through it, but I mean, computers and radios and video screens, and it's quite impressive.
Just no people.
What's that?
Just no people.
Just no people. I think today I was there, they had 3 dispatchers working. They didn't go to the call taking area. They've got certainly their hands full over there to keep that place up and running. Envy that position at all. And when it happens over here, when things start breaking, when that stuff in 5 years gets some age on it, and things start breaking over there, I don't know, they're going to have some rainy day funds to keep up with it. But that's my report, sir. Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for the chief? We'll move on at 5:46 to fire, Chief Heath.
Okay. The only correction I made from when these were sent out on Friday, under training, I added a number 3, and that was marathon EMA spill drill.
Has that taken place or is it scheduled?
It's scheduled on the 19th.
It's scheduled, and we have a meeting next Monday, a pre-meeting for that. I got an email at 12:30 at the EMA. They're having a meeting to discuss the drill and go over everything.
EMA spill drill.
Yeah, with the pipe pump. And
the slots, the little slotted dam and such over on 30th Street and such in the future.
I remember a conversation about the drainage stream that over by the Davis Shea house. I remember.
Davis Shea, and I know there's plans to put some channel iron on the culvert there on 30th Street, right there south of Kroger's.
John and Eddie would be taking care of that,
Right.
because that's.
So they gave us a PowerPoint presentation too, because you get word of a release, we're going to be assisting them too with hazmat stuff. So anyway, they just want to release a bunch of this. They want to real time their cleanup crew that they normally would call and just see how long it takes them to get here, which could be a couple hours. But in the meantime, EMA, the fire department and such, we're going to take preventative measures that we would normally do. But
So they're actually going to release styrofoam popcorn
something simulated
into
on
the
the water.
actual water.
Yes.
So who's going to pick all those up?
well, I guess their response team.
The fish.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to
I don't
release
know anything
something.
about styrofoam. I know they in past
You
tense
said
they-
popcorn. I'm assuming that's what you're referring to, like packing,
Well,
styrofoam
I'm-
packing stuff.
Peanuts or
No,
whatever.
I think popcorn,
Real pop.
real stuff.
Real
Something
popcorn.
that's biodegradable, and
See,
something gets
Ah.
Wow.
Wow.
Brian Dugan.
The ducks and the ducks and the geese are gonna love it.
Yeah.
That'd be
All right.
careless. But anyway, that's what he told me. They were using
Geese.
popcorn.
Chief's gonna be in there.
Yeah, right in time for Thanksgiving too.
I'll get you
Think
a
of all the
bag
geese
too.
residue.
Yeah, you're right.
So anyway, that's coming up, and we'll be participating in that. That is on the 19th November. Yes. Okay. Was that 3 in the afternoon? Do you remember?
that sounds right, yeah.
Our hazmat God is on duty that day, Brian Hoffman. So anyway, we'll be participating in that. So anyway, October statistics: 41 fire compared to 42 last year, for a total of 423 versus 362 last year. So we're up on our fire calls. We had 182 EMS calls this month compared to 138 this time last year. We're just down what, 6, 7, thank you. 7 runs from the previous year. Transports, we had 100 for the month. And you can see 902 this year to the 883 last year, so. The calculator is out. Question? Oh, no, I'd love to watch your hands work on the calculator.
You're kind of weird. I need to move it over here.
That was my intention. So anyway.
Scoot out.
Which way are
Scoot
you
out.
moving?
Yeah.
Which way is he moving?
I'm not sure.
You need to go that way. I need to go this way.
Mutual aid's given 35, mutual aid received 38. Then a breakdown work between Township, Madison, Township Fire Company, Hebron, air evac, we flew one out last month. Legislative request, I have there we go. Legislative request, this is EMS grant money, $2,500 that went into the general fund and pulled it out and putting it back in our EMS supplies. No emergency, so, and if we don't use it, it goes back into the general fund anyway.
Our transports are up 1% last year.
As it stands right now, this, yeah.
55 versus 54.
Mm-hmm. But that was a phenomenal month for really no reason, just 500 transports. That's just. Mm-hmm.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
what was specifically the grant? It was from the state of Ohio,
We apply, they have a grant cycle period 14-15. We're into 15-16, and we've already been notified that we were awarded $4,250 for this grant cycle. This was the last grant cycle that we bought Roslow bags. You earmark it for some kind of a squad supply that is on their list. We bought 2 pediatric, actually a total of 3, but pediatric bags that satisfied that grant, and they're reimbursing us the money for those.
what do the bags do?
The bags are specifically designed for all kids, babies. Everything is
For what,
small.
resuscitation?
There's a Broslow tape that, if you lay the child on the tape, depending on the length, it gives you specific drug doses, ET2, anything that pertains to the child, whether medical or traumatic in nature, and spells out what sizes and drug medications and everything. But you're dealing blood pressure cuffs and things. Just adult sizes don't work well with little kids. So. You're welcome. Monthly expenses, as you can see, 2013, but for October of 14, we had 3 pay periods, so that's the reason for the 98,000. Overtime was at 31,650,113 compared to 29,350,35 the previous year, and we're up still considerably over last year, but last year was a good year. Questions, comments on that? Yes.
Spellman, who else is that extended?
Well, but Baughman left us and we hired Jones, but we had a little bit of downtime there for that. He actually came on board pretty quick, because he was already a volunteer and such, but we had several people off. We currently have Ron Worth is off with his wife. She just had some additional back surgery. She was off 5 shifts, still off. But, so anyway, okay. Any questions on that? Equipment, Medic 1, repairs galore this year. Mary and I were talking about this earlier, and it's still in the shop. In the last 3 weeks, we've dropped well over $5,000 in repairs on it. That's our newest medic. We too this year have had, and I asked for an extension on funds, or you gave me an additional, and that money has already been spent. I asked Becky last week where we stood as I handed in a $3,500 bill, and she said we have $250 left. I'm not asking for additional funds. I'm going to empty out every account I've got.
The fireman account, there are no objections to that. I mean, as far as what I have budgeted this year in my accounts, before I would come back and ask, I still have money that I normally spend on fire hose or turnout gear, and so I have a little bit of extra money there, so I'm going to spend all that and pay for all this stuff. But if I write a PO, it's not going to be earmarked or coming out of the repair fund. But I can transfer that money in certain accounts, but it just makes sense, and so that's what I'm going to be doing. But it has been, I had gone through $65,000 in repair funds this year, and
That's a nice little thing on your squad.
Yeah.
Well, this
And our
is
two newer squads are the ones that we have the problems with. The older one, that's the reserve, we don't have near the problems with it because it's not as new, doesn't have all the gizmos and gadgets and whiz bangs. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
What's this all?
ridiculous.
What is what all about?
What's the latest?
Um,
What
we
what
had,
circuit board blew up on this thing this time?
this is something in,
Smoking when going down the street. Look like some
there's some sort
18-year-old
of a sensor. that-
pickup truck. going down
Unfortunately,
the
it's
road.
not spitting out the codes. It's running rough. It doesn't have any power. You put injectors in it. You put a pump in it. Fuel type deal. Right now, they're checking into, and it finally spit out some codes that something in the a sensor in the emission system that, Brian, you can probably something to do with burning out the exhaust and such with this.
diesel exhaust. Is it
The diesel exhaust fumes.
Is that the one with the DEF system in it or no?
No.
This is the one that's got the internal regen system. Oh God, yeah.
Regenerate exhaust?
It's basically
It's like a filter?
It's a filtering system within the vehicle. They put, I don't know how many years ago this has been, but International it's been a big problem with the system, and every so many miles it has to regenerate itself. I mean, literally, it's supposed to regenerate its filter, clean its filter, what have you. They have a slew of problems. They don't work.
Or
And it
it's
shuts the
just
vehicle
filter
down. It will
and-
shut your vehicle down. It just doesn't run.
No recalls?
It's just
No,
We gotta figure out how to fix it before they can put a recall in.
But see,
it's
that's
funny
the-
you would mention that, because they had a problem with some of the injectors leaking fuel into the crankcase, and then of course, the level on the dipstick went up because you had diesel fuel in with the oil. The International's fix to that was change the viscosity limits on a probe so it wouldn't go off unless you had excessive amounts of fuel in the oil.
The fix is ignore it until it gets too bad. So
No,
ignore it
but,
anymore.
No, until a lawsuit arises and their
I just need to go
manufacturers.
buy a bunch of 94, 95 vintage squads and run them around. They don't have all the gizmos on.
Well, unfortunately, the urea and the systems are here to stay. I mean,
You don't have that on that vehicle, do you, Chief? See,
No.
that'll be on the new vehicles, the urea systems, and so far they're working much better than this regen system that they have now. It's just the cost of basically the depth to put it in the vehicle, but it took place in the regen system. It neutralizes the toxin from the diesel exhaust.
Well, and also, when we get new medics, we're not looking at internationals.
It doesn't matter, right? And it doesn't matter what it is. If it's a diesel-powered engine after 2013, they've got to have the system on it. So
So the Dodges and the Fords that we've been bantering about with those have all got the same
Well,
system?
Brian's saying the new ones would, yeah.
The new
It's
DEF
different.
systems on every diesel engine produced, since, from 2013 going forward, it has to be on every diesel engine, whether it's marine, automotive, it could be a locomotive, it doesn't matter, it has to be on, it could be a generator from a rental yard. So the only people that are exempt from a DEF system is the government, they do not have that.
Jeez.
It's us, right?
We are going.
Federal
Wrong
government.
federal
I
government,
see.
our military is.
So anyway, they are giving us some fits, but sooner or later, we hopefully will have the bugs worked out of it. But in the meantime, thank God we've got the old unit.
Oh, who's that?
It was actually manufactured in 1991, so that's the date stamped on the door.
Runs like a champ
91
compared to the
actually-
other ones we have.
Yeah, went into service in
No,
92.
so,
Well, that's why they changed them. They were working too well.
That's right.
They weren't buying enough fuel.
That's right.
We're buying it up.
most reliable vehicle we got is a quarter century old.
So anyway, that's what I'm going to do as far as the repair funds. We still have some tires put on the rear engine too. We've got pump testing yet to do. We're going to be doing that here in the next week or so out at Marathon for the 4 trucks. And it'll be a little simpler. We've had some excellent training with the volunteers. Mr. Jamie Jones has done a really nice job. Of course, he coordinated training out at the airport, but he worked there and very informative, and the volunteers like him. Captain McCord, I stuck that in your mailbox today. Your certificate. I think you may have been gone by the time I did. I left City Hall, but that Pure Fitness certificate that he's got, which just means he's certified and completed the courses for the testing consortium that we're part of with CTEC and such, and he was a part of that and is certified to check people off as far as the physical agility testing. And then we already talked about the marathon drill coming up. Fire levy, what can we say? We all know congratulations, and wish Kent was here. I tell him, still not here, can't tell him, but once again, thank you for all the effort that everybody put in, and I think we fared pretty well. You could look at it and say why there were a lot of people that opposed us too, but I'll take a victory.
62%.
Pretty
About as
That's not
convincing
bad.
as you can hope for.
Oh, I think if we did a happy dance for the camera, then we could tell him to watch it.
I'm gonna move out of the way for you.
Yeah.
Plenty of room behind.
Only if I can dance with my partner.
That's even better.
Take a restroom break now.
Don't be bashful.
Yeah, really. Yeah, don't be bad. Oh my.
Number 2.
Yeah, BWC grant. See, I said it right this time.
Not
Paperwork's
practice.
in, yeah. Paperwork. Real
Workman's
workers'
comp.
compensation. This is for the power lift cots. We had a gentleman come in from BWC and review our records and lack of records. I sent you that report, didn't I? I think I did. And they're in the process of sending us a little bit more paperwork and such, but there's a lot of paperwork involved, but there's no indication that we won't qualify for that grant other than if they run out of money and they run fiscal at the end of June or whatever. And they said you want to expedite that as quickly as possible because they have written a lot of these grants.
Don't they do the grant awards all at once? Or do they
No.
let them, they
It
approve
sounds
them as
like they
trickle in?
approved them as the year has gone, because they said they have processed a lot of
Okay.
these.
Chief, is this in relation to the cotton?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're talking
This is all
about.
for the comparison.
And some of my people are still kind of up in the air which direction, so I think I'm going to have them come back in again, and I would like to have a striker cot, actually a Furno and a striker for several days that we can take out on the street and play with them a little bit. See, I don't think that's asking too much. And I'm sorry. Well, they should.
Anyway, the problem is, don't both the Furno one. They talked about there would be, and they didn't have them yet when we saw the demo, but they talked about they were going to come out with whatever mechanism it was that was going to secure those cots in the squad.
Yeah.
Obviously, we wouldn't have that, so how could we use one if it's not secured in?
Well, that's what to figure out if that's feasible that Furno can be brought in, but I've got people that didn't see it either and would like to play with it some if they could. I know the striker cots will fit our hardware in our squad currently, the power lift without that loading system. So they'd still like to try them, and we just dealt with a 500 plus pound respiratory arrest unconscious man the other day, and just they're not getting any smaller, that's for sure.
I don't know.
You know,
I was looking at the reflection off your glasses.
I don't know that we necessarily. We're not going to get unanimity. I'm not even sure we need to get a consensus. We had both companies here. The council members were invited to go. I know I'm pretty sure I saw some off-duty full-timers there at that. So they all decide basically at the same time. I mean, how much input do we need from every single person, and how
Much longer do we wait to make the decision? No, as soon as we get all the paperwork and everything ready to go, we'll make that decision if we haven't had the opportunity. But if in the meantime, while we're waiting on some of this stuff, if I can get them in, or we can get a loader for a couple of days and have the crews play with it, that may give us some information, valuable information that helps us make a decision.
Okay. I guess if we're ready and we have the money, and I don't want, I don't want going around the room counting yays and nays to slow us up. You know what I'm saying?
And right now, if you have 16 people, you've got 16 different opinions. That's, some of them are actually saying, man, I just can't believe how expensive and too much. And one of the arguments the other night with some of the guys was a power cot really would not have done us any good, because we still had to pick the gentleman from ear to here and all, and that's where you're going to hurt your back and all. So
It's not a be all end, but it's great.
Yeah.
So will the motorized chair, right?
Right. And that's something that we'll purchase out of our budgeted equipment monies every year. Replace those are $7,500 a pop. So that being said, that's kind of where we're at there.
Get those guys running for a couple of shifts apiece. And
If we can get them in there,
if they can get them in trailer parks and up and down some stairs and some real live.
Well, that's some of the concerns, because the cots are considerably heavier with the battery and the lifting systems and things, and where you normally would just pick them up and up into a trailer or whatever, it's going to be more difficult. I don't know how many times in the course of a year I take a stretcher in a house by myself. The squad crew's already in, and I come in behind them, and they're lightweight enough, and you can handle them and get them up the door. You're not going to be able to do that with these power cots. So they're going to have to totally change their concept and the way that they handle patients and get them. Many times that cot, instead of going into the house, is going to stay outside, and they're going to have to bring the patient out because of that. So anyway, we need to play with it some more.
The whole idea is to make this job easier and better for the 16 firefighters and volunteers, not a detriment.
Right. And that's why before we spend the money, we want to make sure we're getting questions. It just brings up a question I have. If it's going to be harder to use this, one of the new cars,
cots that'll handle a heavier person, if that's only 10% of your runs, 5%, 1%, whatever your runs and stuff, are you hurting yourself by having the heavier cots for 90% or 95% of all your runs to get in to use this stuff? In other words, you know,
Are you giving up too much?
Are you giving up too much
in
to
order
just
to get a new capability?
yeah, new capability. I mean, would we be ahead?
It's a good
I don't know how this
question.
would work out, but would you be ahead to have, instead of going with both squads with both heavy duty, you have one that's heavy duty and one's regular, and when you know, identify all the houses that are a heavy individual, and when that call comes in, the run card, instead of sending squad one, it sends squad two or three or whatever you want to call them. You know what I'm saying? And maybe we'd be ahead doing that because you want to get there first, because let's say it's heart attack or whatever, you treat them there, but you don't have to transport them yet until that car would get there. You know what I mean? It's no different than, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I wonder, are we going
I know what
to
you're
cause
saying.
more
In the
trouble
perfect-
back,
in
you
the
know,
perfect
injuries
world.
carrying this big thing? I don't know. I never thought about it before until you just mentioned that. I'm thinking, what are we giving up to try to be easier on 3 or 4
When
runs
we
a
were
year
there that
compared
night,
to
they talked about
90%
the
of
fact
that.
that these things are too heavy. They won't be taking them into houses. They're too heavy for that kind of thing.
So do you have to have a separate cot to get them out so far?
Yeah, how would they get them out to the car?
I mean, you throw them in a sheet and a blanket and carry them?
Well, we have,
Like Mark said,
backboard?
sometimes a stretcher would be used and sometimes the chair would be used.
on the chair, if they're unconscious, we have, they're called tubby tarps. Lift saddles or whatever with a lot of handholds and heavy duty that are rated for, 1,000+ pounds. And the unfortunate thing is houses aren't built to handle these large patients. And taking them down a flight of steps, that's where the stair chair comes in to play. But you just, you've got somebody at the foot, somebody at the head of a cot or stair chair, and there's just not enough room to put anybody else. If you've got a big patient you have to deal with.
You're still gonna take the cot into the home, even the new ones. You're gonna take it into the home. You're not gonna leave them out front and
It
try to
depends
person
on the
out.
circumstance. If you've got a front stairway with several steps and a little concrete island, which is quite common in the city or whatever, you may leave the cot sitting out on the sidewalk. And
uh,
especially
Especially my house, I've got a shower in the basement. I have the big one in the basement. You're going to have to take doors off. I don't care whether it's me or the skinniest person in the world. If you bring them up on
a cot.
I don't know how to have it. You have to take the doors off to go out the back door.
Some of them fold up handle wise, and they're designed to actually shorten their footprint or whatever. So anyway, this is just a reason why we and shake hands on. You can watch somebody wheel them around the fire station, but we need a little bit of hands on with them. Yeah.
Well, Chief, even the cots you have now, there's many situations you can't get them inside the house or the apartment or the residence. They're already too big, and you have to resort to other methods to get them outside. So you may be a little more restrictive. Don't forget, they do a lot of runs to businesses, to the mall, to outside locations, many other applications that cot's going to be so much better for. So I don't think it, from observing them over the years, I know that there's certain times that they're just not going to be able to use any cot. They're just going to have to use manpower and stretchers and tarps or whatever.
Is available, yeah. Just going to have to take a little more time and more people. It's when you get, I won't say complacent, but it's the lightweight little throwing Deb on a cot. It makes you make your day or whatever. Little itty bitty thing. But that's the one you bend over and you lift up and you raise your back. It doesn't take, you're more in tune when it is a large patient. Yeah, I'm looking. You know, you're geared up for it, and you don't take chances that you do sometimes. But anyway, we're just going to continue to evaluate. We're working on the paperwork as we speak, and hopefully have by next month either have something under order, or you're going to have to sign the paperwork anyway. Work in progress, and help me locate the signs. I heard already some of you got some signs. Best count I can come up with, there's about 60 signs missing, and I don't.
Really?
I forgot to bring that.
How many?
I've got one.
Okay.
So you don't have addresses, you just want us to
No.
see them, pick them up, and bring them back
I
to
went
you?
around, and if you've got them,
Drop them off at the fire station.
fire station, or call me and I'll come get them. That's probably as easy as any other way.
I haven't seen any more out.
No, that's.
Sometimes people just go ahead, as soon
Now-
as it's over, they take them out.
They put them in the garage or something,
Yeah.
so they probably
Yeah.
got them, sitting inside the
Well,
garage.
but I don't know that we had. I mean, it's not as though we had 150 signs in front of 150 different residences.
That's right.
We had a lot of signs on city-owned property, Shea real estate-owned properties,
Yeah.
things like that. I'm wondering if the ones at the Shea real estate-owned properties, did those all just kind of get collected all up in one big swoop, and they're now with all the other ones that he had in his properties?
Stop and drop signs off, and I know Mr. Waynesford had picked up some of our signs while he was out picking up the other signs.
So had our people look. I went out Friday and found 3 additional signs.
But I wasn't the only one. I know where, and I've already covered the areas where I put signs
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you see it, pick it up.
See it,
Drop
pick it
off
up,
at the
and if you
station.
got them in your garage, give me a call or let me know, and I'll park it. But
I'm not sure.
I know.
John Ross, they pick up a lot of stuff.
With a dumpster.
Yeah, it's one of those
If
that
John had
you never
them,
know.
Chief would have gotten them already because he's been in the office. And John would have.
John, you dropped
Yeah.
quite a few of them off on the
Yeah.
first day. And,
Yeah.
How many signs did you start with, Mark? Do you know the exact number you started with?
Yeah, we started with 250. We purchased, I think about 45 of those never went out. They're still in the box. But I know. Let's see, did your mom had one in her yard?
I got all the signs you gave me. I got them.
Okay. But did you pick up one of the mom's yard?
Your mom's?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, very good. I mean, this is the thing. I know the lawn care person took the first sign from Bill Stevens' office, my mother's yard, the lawn care people. We probably lost 10 signs to lawn care companies. I mean, the grass was cut in need and no sign. So someone didn't put them back.
They didn't put them back?
It's just in the election.
So anyway, but all means, if you've got any, give me a call and I'll get them. Working on a replacement for the rescue unit since things have passed. We started doing some work in past tense, and I'm hoping, as you know, the levy does not start generating funding for till January of 2016. Which is a little while. We've got, the last several years, we've saved up to have $200,000 approximately in the Fire Levy 1 fund that is there and was put aside for equipment replacement. I'm hoping, the mayor and I haven't really talked much about this, but I'm hoping that maybe we can get this rescue moving, as in my opinion, is the priority and the first piece of equipment we need to get started, because at 300 days from the time we put an order in before we would receive that for almost a year. Yeah. So I'm hoping that we can take that. I'm waiting on some additional information. You know, a long time ago, we did a little bit of research on funding as far as purchase lease. I had some funding crisis from some people. I know also have a lease purchase program. Lease purchase program. And want to
check into that, but we do have the money that we could possibly get the wheels moving on that and get something ordered here shortly after the first of the year. But we are already, the guys are already starting to
spec that truck. And the cutoff will be 500,000, and that's what we said. And if we can do it cheaper, great. But that's kind of where we're at if nobody has any objections. Do you have any objections?
No.
I mean, is that feasible to you?
Yeah.
That we can, okay.
Yeah.
I'll keep you informed.
We'll sit down and crunch the numbers. Obviously, it's going to depend on the financing, and maybe what we do is put something down as first year's payment. Revenue will be coming in 16.
Right. Oh yeah, I don't want to put 200,000 down on something. We ought to come up with something. And just Ebola. The news so much. We could spend thousands of dollars getting prepared. The county's already bought some suits we have looked at, and of course, they're the market right now. You can't really buy the necessary protective equipment, but we're not gonna get too carried away with it. I mean, we always have to. The mayor and I talk. You know, my job is the what ifs, and there's always that possibility. But you don't want to say it can't happen, but we have to be prepared if it does. There are protocols written, but we're not going to spend a lot of money getting prepared. But we will put some money into some of this equipment, and, just so we have got some protective equipment for our people. It's just quite comical. It's scary as all get out. I have already had a couple fire departments that have said they will refuse to respond.
Oof. Wow.
That it's better to let courtesy ambulance handle it. Because the patient, Licking Memorial currently, I'll say this based on the information I've had from recent reports, is not set up to handle this right now. So the patients would have to be transported to OSU Hospital. And that's the way our protocol is reading right now, that if they meet the guidelines and they have the fevers and all that, at that point, for the next 4 hours, you're quarantining your crew while they run testing, and do they test positive for Ebola? Does the patient test positive, and if so, then you've got that 21-day. It's just, it's so crazy. The rules from CDC, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing here right now. But, so anyway, long story short, we're just not going to get too excited about it.
Yeah, we won't prevent them from coming to our country for just a short time for the sake of everybody else's health. That would be inhumane. I agree.
Well, personal rights versus the rights of many. As far as you can't keep me quarantined, it's a minority.
They don't have any personal rights. We say you're not coming into this country.
Well, influx until they get it under control there. Why spread it out?
So anyway, it's something we can talk about for hours, but it's crazy, and I just hate to think when the flu season really hits. The fevers and everything. Oh my God. It'll be like, back when the anthrax and the white powders and stuff, we were running all over the county for people would buy rolls of toilet paper and it had white powder. And just I bought a box of donuts and it's got white powder. We responded north part of the county because there was white powder on the donuts.
That really happened.
Seriously.
Wow.
So people just go crazy.
Did you taste it, Chief?
I'm sorry?
Did you taste it?
I'm sorry.
Did you taste it?
No, I did not. No, but we
Someone
had
said
several
no
residents.
responded.
Mr. Chairman, that is all I have. Nobody has any
They all
questions.
showed. They all showed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they were.
They all showed.
You knew that
They
day
had
was
to
coming.
everybody.
Does anybody else have any questions for the chief? Okay, Chief Eggers, Chief Mason, thank you for your reports.
Thank you.
6:26.
Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll have interviews with Jay, with city maker. I'll go get my signs now, Mark, so you can have them. Anyone have any signs in their car? Give them to Mark now.
Thank you.